Welcome to the StockMentor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock mentor, Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. Big move down today. I mentioned yesterday that I thought we might maybe move sideways again, maybe continue that high base formation, but to watch the first couple hours of trading, and if nothing had happened by that time, it was probably not going to happen the rest of the day. First 3 hours, and there was good trading. First 3 hours of the day, really good trading. For those of you that like to trade the indices, boy, you had to make money to the short side today. If you do not know how to short, you need to learn. This is why. Big red candles down. This is what I'm expecting more of. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be Monday, whatever, but in the future, for sure, we're going to see more days where these big red candles move down. And if you do not know how to short, or not familiar with shorting, or you don't maybe exactly know when to get in, please at least call me, write me something about the mentoring course. It would be of great value to you in the long run for your trading. You got to know how to trade both sides of this market, long and short. Got to know how to do both of it if you really want to be consistently profitable. Got to do it. So here we go. Big move down today. For the first 3 hours. Getting the energy. Let's see, energy, utilities. Man, basic materials just took a pounding today. Financials, too, just took an absolute whooping. I think they blamed the news on the Goldman Sachs coming under FTC, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Truth of the matter is it was just due for a pullback. So I think that was the news that they used to spurn things on. I'm not convinced that that's why. I mean, needless to say, the markets are up, a month and a half in a row? So some sort of a pullback was certainly in the works. We're just not really out of the woods yet, guys. We've seen this before. This usually ends up being just another opportunity for the bulls to buy back in at a better price. So stay on guard. One of those, what is it like now? 10 times bitten, twice shy. I mean, how many times do the bears have to get their paws slapped before they finally, really just start to take more conservative entries into this thing? Because it's been a case where the bulls have just come back with a vengeance. Okay, so we will talk more about that this weekend. So I will try to keep this short for all you Fridayers. Big move down in the markets today. You can see here down over 1% today in the Dow, making for some great and really pretty simple intraday trading. For those of you that were trading the indices today, very good trading today. Very simple to follow it down, make some money in the markets today. If we take a look at the daily, you can see here the big red candle headed down. But more importantly, I'm going to skip back here to the 60-minute. I'll talk more about this weekend. But look at this, 10,950, still my more conservative place to be looking for a short play in the markets themselves. I'm going to draw a couple. I can see some lines in here that I want drawn in, but I'll do that this weekend. On the daily, you can see here, big red candle down. This is what I talk about. When it does tend to move, it tends to move quickly. However, put that in perspective of the last couple days, and you can see we really, while we did make, one day covered 2 days worth of trading, we're just right back to some of this support line that held very nicely, right at the 11,000 area. Still closing above 11,000. So cautious going into the weekend. I'm still, until these more major levels get broken, I'm still neutral to bullish in the short term, bearish in the long term on the markets. NDX on a 60-minute today, doing the same thing, pulling back, coming back down here, touching some support right at the 50 period on the 60-minute chart, holding nicely down here. Not only closing this gap, but also hitting this 2,000 area, which is previous resistance. Now it should act as support, and today it did. 2,000.77 was the low. So bouncing back up again here. Just kind of finished the day flat to sideways. From a daily, though, where are we at? Oh, I don't know. On this blue line that we've been watching for forever. So I can tweak this ever so slightly and make it on whatever. So we're just going to call it on the blue line for the time being. We'll see if we get some confirmation coming into early next week on whether or not we're going to get a bigger pullback here in the markets, especially below the 2,000 area. I'll be watching that part closely. But from a weekly standpoint, guess what? Hitting that overhead resistance that I have drawn in here. That's right up about the high for the week was 2040. My area of overhead resistance is 2040 to 2050. And just like we saw back here for at least this week, we did manage to hold it. Still a white candle. yeah, whatever, potential reversal candle, blah, blah, blah. Won't know till we get some more confirmation on that next week. But holding nicely to this overhead resistance line I have drawn, as we saw back here. So, gotta respect TA. You get your lines in the right place, you're in really good shape. Same thing here on the SPX. Big drop down today. Look at this double top that we put in. Notice how we came back, moved back up. Looked like we might end up doing that whole high base thing that we've been doing. But once we broke this level down here, I'm not sure I told you guys or if I told my subscribers about it, but once we broke this level down here, that was my entry to get short. For my subscribers, I have already been talking about where we should, well, depending on what subscribers went with me or not, but we were already short coming into this move, so we should have made some money off of that. I'm going to tell them next where to put their stops and what to look out for coming into early next week. But look at the big drop to the downside, pulling back where? Yeah, right into lower support. Even this tail comes down and hits a support line. So not only do we stop body-wise at this support, but from a wick standpoint, we also touch a lower support line I have drawn in here. This holding very nicely, a little bit of a push up now, moving sideways. So what do we got? Maybe another potential head and shoulders pattern, something we're going to be watching coming into next week. SPX on a daily, also big move down here for my students. You guys certainly should have been short this market after what we saw today. But coming back into these lower levels. Now, if you're looking to swing trade this market, you're going to be watching some of these lower levels down here around 1180. Ultimately, 1180 is where I'm watching this for more 1190 and then 1180 for your support areas, especially this 20-day. Let's see if that's going to hold on a first test. SPX on a weekly. Now, this one did not finish with the little white candle, and it didn't quite make that 1224. Looked like it wanted to be pulled there really badly. So, what do we get? A potential reversal candle, but we need confirmation on this before we have anything at all to work off of. We'll talk more about that this weekend. VIX on a daily. Look at this. Wow, huge spike in the VIX. Up 15, 14.5, 15%. This is what we've been waiting for, a move like this in the VIX. So, for those of you that have been holding options, you made out pretty well today, especially if you're holding puts anyway, or calls on certain things. But puts in particular should have made you some extra money today. Volatility coming up in the market, so a little bit of fear returning to the markets. In an overall, still holding below this overhead resistance line here. So we have to be very careful calling this, I don't know, a top, if you will, in the markets. Just have to be cautious. This VIX is up a little ways, but still way down from what we've seen the last few weeks. We have to get closes up and over these areas before I start to wonder about more fear pouring into the markets. Apple on a 60 was also down, but